Good afternoon, board members, Mr. Santos, and district staff, and other online audience. The time is 12:05 p.m. on this, the 18th day of August. September 15, 2020, and I call this meeting of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. If I can have all the board members that are present here and online, please say out their names.
Juan Roberto Ramírez.
Ricardo Molina Sr.
Alicia Oliveros.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Rick, can you hear us?
Greg.
You hear me?
Yeah. It's just that you were mute when you said present.
Okay, present. Ricardo Rick Rodriguez, present.
All right.
Myself, Ramiro Vélez. All right, the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of the meeting has been posted according to the Open Meetings Act. At this time, we'll move on to first time pledge of allegiance, please. So I can have everybody stand up. The flag of the United States of America, and the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag, pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
No public comment.
No public comment submitted.
That's what they
Sorry, well, not online.
Not online, okay, we're gonna have somebody that's online present right now. Mr. Puig? Can you hear us, sir?
Can you mute it?
Yes, I'm here. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
You have some comments, sir?
Yes, is this the time to give a public comment?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have prepared a statement that I would like to address the board with. Good afternoon, Mr. Santos and members of the board. My name is Ben Puig, and I graduated from United High School in 1993. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to address the board to discuss the upcoming 2020 fall football season. Although the board and myself as a parent would like to believe the teachers will have the biggest impact on our children's lives, I could argue that Coach Salinas, Coach Sanchez, Coach Cos, and Coach Calderon, and all Laredo High School coaches and the respective staffs will provide life lessons that cannot be taught in any classroom and will remain with them long after they graduate. You cannot put a value on these lessons. These lessons will help shape our boys into young men and provide the direction and guidance that this sport instills in them. These lessons will help mold them to be future leaders in our community. Although I've been blessed to have been taught by great UISD teachers, I would be lying if I told you I could remember all of them. But rest assured, I could tell you who every coach I had in high school because of their impact they had on my life. Even to this day, I am a member of a chat group of high school buddies, and we all look back on the years with fondness and reminisce on our back-to-back district championships in 1992 and 93 under Coach Bobby Gonzalez. I even get a chuckle when our quarterback rattles off his stats for every game and posts old newspaper clippings, even though it was over 20 years ago. It all just feels like yesterday. Those were good times indeed, as I am sure members of the board and administration have their own stories and experiences as well. These years are irreplaceable, unforgettable, and years that you can never get back. Football is unlike any sport in Laredo. There is no substitution for high school football. Laredo athletes in general, in my opinion, are already at somewhat of a disadvantage as compared to the rest of their peers who have more opportunities and exposure. As parents, in order to maximize our children's potential and realize their dreams, we often find ourselves pounding the I-35 corridor, taking our kids to club volleyball tournaments, AAU basketball tournaments, select baseball tournaments, and the list goes on and on. However, as much as we would like to, we cannot do this for the sport of football. We only get to play this sport at our high school. We cannot afford any self-inflicted decisions that further puts our kids behind their peers in the state of Texas. We have already lost 40% of our season and cannot lose any more time. Every day and every week is of the utmost importance. Therefore, I respectfully request the board to approve the upcoming fall football season and begin the 3-week acclimatization and practice window starting on Monday, September 21st, to allow the most flexibility to play all 6 district games within an 8-week window for our district to be certified by December 5th. In closing, I know these are unprecedented times and tough decisions must be made. I am not asking the board to reinvent the wheel. All I am asking is for the board to use all available resources and COVID protocols already in effect from UIL and being followed by other school districts across the state. We owe this to our kids to do whatever it takes to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brooker, for comments. That was the only person who has something. All right.
I'd like to add a
Go ahead,
comment.
Mr. Gilpin.
I think on the last point that Mr. Puig made, I think it's a really important one. We've always strived to compete and compare ourselves to the schools across the district. That's just a big part of our decision-making process. And we've looked at the more successful schools. We looked at schools that are comparable to us. And we've done similar things, and we've tried to improve a little bit on some of the things that we see them doing. And it seems to me like that's the lesson that we've learned is the better way to make decisions. And I strongly suggest that whatever decisions we make on this matter should be similar to some of the more successful school districts in the state. And I think if there's something that's really dissimilar about us, we could talk about that. But if we're operating in the same plane and we can use the same practices and we can achieve a similar good result for our kids as they are, that's usually our goal. I think it shouldn't be different for extracurriculars.
So, all right. Okay, so we'll move on to agenda item 3, informational items. Item A, Finance Division, the monthly financial report.
Good afternoon, Mr. Levy, members of the board, members of the audience, Mr. Santos. We're bringing to you our Finance Division monthly report. This is information as of August 31st, which is our fiscal year end. If I can move the screen, that's just right there. So you'll see that our cash investment balance at the end of August was 168.6 million. 71 million of that is from our general fund. There's a PPFCO 2020 series. We have received the proceeds of 6.3 million. This was for the devices that we have ordered, and we're waiting for them to come in. Our child nutrition is at 255, debt service at 8.6, and our construction money is at a total of 78.8 million. The portfolio yield is at 0.52%, and the current pool rate is at 0.27%. Interest rates are still at a historical low, so we are saving money on our debt side, but at the same time, we're not earning that much interest income. The administrative cost ratio, we're at 9.43%. This is still lower than the amount allowed by TEA, which is 11%. Our unaudited numbers, our revenue to date is 385.1 million, or 97% of our budget. And sorry, our year-to-date expenditures at 398.9 million, or at 96% of our current year budget. Our tax office report shows that we are at a current collection rate of 99.55%, or 224.8 million was collected by our tax office, and the delinquent collection rate of 24.10%, or 1.5 million was collected. The report also includes all bids and proposals awarded through August 31st, and then there's a section on the grants of the activity in that area. I have Mr. Santos in the audience if anybody has any questions on our investments of our $168 million.
Any questions from board members?
No, sir.
Thank you.
None of this. Thank you. Item B, Child Nutrition Department, presentation on audit of breakfast and lunch price increase starting on October 1st, 2020.
Yes, we're bringing this item to you for information. It is recommended that UISD Board of Trustees be informed about adult breakfast and lunch program. As you realize that we are part of the community eligibility provision, which means all our kids eat free. This is just strictly adult meals, and it's mostly our staff at the campuses. We are recommending, or actually, we actually are requiring based on calculations that we increase our breakfast from the current $2.25 to $2.50 and lunch from $3.75 to $4.25. The last time we had a price increase was in 2018. We feel that these prices that we're recommending will take us another 2 years. So we actually have to recalculate that every year, every time our reimbursement rate from the Department of Ag goes up. We have Mr. Ramirez in the audience from Food Service if anybody has any questions.
Quick question, how much revenue do we usually get from this?
It's probably about maybe 300,000 to 300,000 or so, or maybe, I'm probably over projecting, but
It's about 200,000.
200,000
Yes,
on this
200,000.
adult meals.
just the
throughout
adult meals, exactly. Thank you.
Move on to agenda item C, UISD applying for coronavirus relief funds to Texas Department of Emergency Management.
Yes, this is to let the board know that through our grants administration department and with Mr. Flores' assistance on the finance records, we are going to be applying for coronavirus relief funds through the Texas Department of Emergency Management. We are going to be submitting quite a bit of expenses to see if we can get reimbursed. One of the biggest expenses is for the devices we ordered in May. You see the period there that says from March 1st through May 21st. We actually ordered these devices on May 18th, so we got those in just on time. This is 7,800 devices that we ordered. We feel that the expense does qualify for reimbursement, and hopefully that we can recoup about 1.4 million of the money that we spent on those devices.
Would this request be separate from any that we are applying for federal funds?
Yes, then there's another state, there's another round of funds like through FEMA.
Correct.
Yeah, that we might be able to.
That's separate.
Yes, we're hoping that the expenditures that we had for masks, shields, and things of that nature, the PPE, the additional technology that we had to purchase, we're hoping that it does qualify for reimbursement.
Besides the devices for this one, for the state one, what other, I know you mentioned other items, how much would the other items fall more or less?
Well, I think based on what we were tracking, right, Sam, it's probably close to $1 million.
Yeah, it's just under. We're gonna submit everything that we can submit.
Right.
We're allowed to. Hopefully, we expect all of it to be reimbursed at 75%. But if not, at the minimum, it's gonna be somewhere around 600,000 that we should be able to qualify for reimbursement. And we've actually submitted those 7,800 units and these particular items individually. We'll have one more submission probably next week, once we get through these final numbers of this fiscal year, and we'll submit that one as well.
All right.
We also are looking at any costs that we've incurred through COVID testing and maybe hospital bills and inpatient, outpatient
Right.
through our health insurance and see if we qualify for FEMA reimbursement on those.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Letter D, advanced placement, update, spring 2020.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Mr. Santos. This afternoon, I really bring some good news, but I'd like to start off. Earlier this morning, Mr. Santos did receive a letter notifying our district from TEA, from Mike Morat, that our asynchronous plan, which I presented early last month, has been approved by the state. This is an informational item for you. For today's presentation, really short, and really to, next slide, to outline some of our successes with AP. We do not have all the data yet. What happened in the spring was there was issues, online testing through the College Board, and this was worldwide. So our data is not in completely, but what we do have is recognizing our students. If we look at the first line, the National AP Scholars, 2014, we had 1, 2016, we were related, we had 2. And then we celebrated 2013 with 3, we went back to 2 in 2018. This year, we have 7. This is something unprecedented by our district. If we look at AP scholars with distinctions, we lost 1 point from last year. We went up in AP scholars with honors with 3 more additions. AP scholars overall, addition of 8, and overall total, we have a plus number of 17. We look at the next slide. These are national AP scholars. And what I'd like to do is recognize students and former students of UISD. This past year, our 7 national AP scholars from Alexander High School, Daniela Morales, who's a recent graduate. We also have a current junior, Eva Nance. He's a current senior right now at Alexander High School. From United High School, we had David Gonzalez, Pedro Perez, Padran Zimmerman, recent graduates, and right now current seniors, Ryan Monsivais and Juan Villarreal. So these students will be getting a recognition from our district, recognizing for their efforts. And again, this is 7 national scholars nationwide. So this is a tribute not only to the work that they've done, but also our teachers and their parents. Thank you.
Thank you. Item E, Texas Education Agency, the Resilient School Support Program.
Yes, again, members of the board, Mr. Santos, we'll go in the next slide. After that. This year, as a district, we did apply, go back to slide number 2. We did apply for the Resilient Schools Program. And the aim here, what we call the objective, is to provide support in a priority area this year, building your local education agency, which is the district, UISD, the capacity to deliver world-class remote learning in alignment with the on-campus learning happening this year. So this was something that we had an opportunity to apply for. So we applied for it. Next slide. So this program selected 40 districts in the state, and we're one of the 40 this year from the state of Texas that was selected through our application. What this is going to do for us outcomes, we're looking at student success, better student outcomes, more parent satisfaction, more positive parent satisfaction, teacher capacity, and leader capacity as well. The next slide. From our local education agencies from our district, and through this program, we'll receive several supports to create a world-class remote learning environment. If we look at the first outcome, we're looking at better coaching and professional development from the state. We have remote learning resources and best practices, cohort learning opportunities, and finally, probably the most important one, and talking to our cabinet members, is TA support. So we're gonna have a direct line this year with Texas Education Agency with the remote learning that's going on. So although this is new, we're fortunate that we're one of the 40 districts selected within the state of Texas to have this opportunity. Our next slide. So what we're doing, we'll start out basically tomorrow. Ms. Lessa and I will have a first meeting, webinar, 90 minutes, and this will be coming pretty often. We'll have 60-minute meetings with them weekly, bi-weekly, 4 times quarterly. So we're gonna have constant communication with the state. Next slide. I'd like to outline the collaborative team. As a senior project sponsor in our team, we'll have our lead project leader, Emma Lessa. Curriculum instruction lead will be Cindy Rodriguez, our Secretary for Elementary. Technology lead, Judy Garcia. Our data lead, Cesar Garcia, our data evaluator. Our diverse learners, we selected our Director of Bilingual Education, Mary Rambola Ruiz, and one of our Directors of Special Ed, Claudia Guzman. And finally, we selected 3 principals, 1 high school principal, Iran Ramirez from United South, Leticia Menchaca from Trauma Middle School, and Telo Martinez from Kennedy Zapata. This will be our team and our faculty advisor. We could have chosen teachers, but we decided with the amount of work and all the heavy burden that our teachers are going through right now with this change, we selected coordinators from each level who work directly with all teachers within the district. So we have Ramiro Garza from high school, Blanca Ibarra Middle School, and Angela Leco in elementary. And finally, the other support that we could have under, we would have 2 people. We added our director for elementary, Saida Gonzalez, and Cristina Casanova, our director for assessment. And then the next slide. This is really just a timeline for your information to view. At this time, I want to thank you for support. This was a big endeavor for the application, and then we're very proud to say that out of all the districts in the state of Texas, we're only one of 40 was selected. Main thing here, we're going to have a direct communication line with Texas Education Agency for any support questions that arise during the school year. I want to thank you for support again.
You're welcome.
Can I comment on that? Mr. Gonzalez, I want to congratulate you guys for being a part of this program. I think it's really impressive, and I think we're headed in the right direction. I would like, one, to suggest that perhaps your team confer with teachers as much as possible. Because, and I know all your leadership is up there.
Can you move it down to slide number 6? Go ahead, sir.
Your administration is up there, that's all administrative, but the people that I hear a lot from are the teachers, and they're the ones that are implementing the work, implementing your direction and all your directives here. They're the ones that are in the trenches, and so I'd like to see that they collaborate, this team here, as impressive as it is, that they collaborate as much as possible with the teachers in the campuses, the elementary level, the middle school level, and the high school level, because I do hear a lot from them, and they have a lot of ideas. They have a lot of things, suggestions that perhaps at the administrative level, are not being, y'all have a lot of work, a lot of responsibilities, but I'd like to see that the teachers at least have a voice in some of this. The other question I have, this is great. I'd like to hear from Mr. Perez, though, how our bandwidth is going, how our technology is going, because some of the issues that we're having is not necessarily the implementation of the curriculum or the instruction, it's the continuation and people are being kicked out or not inability to log on and
Did you want for us to do an informational item?
if we can, or
I know Mr. Perez is on.
I know we were scheduled to go from a 25 to a 50 in September, but I have not heard about that anymore. And so I think those are some of the issues. They're technology issues, but they're not curriculum issues. But certainly
Well, everything affects curriculum, you're right. But I think everything in this case will tie back specifically to this implementation of
We'll
this.
get a report for you on either next meeting or send it to you.
The reason I'm going back to slide number 6, I want to clarify something. We are going to get teachers involved. The reason we chose the 3 elementary, middle, and high, because they work with all teachers. Now, within that group, we can have subgroups and include teachers. But I didn't include that, but certainly we're going to include our teachers.
That would be a good idea.
As well our principals, that's what we have from each level, and we'll be communicating with the principals out there.
I certainly just want to make sure that they have at least a voice to be heard, and perhaps these school leaders that you have there or one of the people.
And of course, the big advantage, we'll have a direct line with TA. We'll meet them weekly. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, for the information. All right, moving on to agenda item 4, items for individual consideration. Item 4A, approval of monthly disbursements.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Vélez, board members and members of the audience. The Division of Finance presented you with the disbursements for the month of August. I don't know if at this point you all have any questions over any of the disbursements.
No questions. Your motion regarding the approval of monthly disbursements as presented.
So move.
Second.
Open the second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Item 4B, approval of budget amendment.
Yes, sir, Mr. Vélez. Another component of the CARES Act, as we mentioned earlier, was the Corona Relief Fund. This one is the ESSER grant. It's Elementary and Secondary Schools Emergency Relief Funding. What's different with this one is TEA gave us guidelines and really accounting guidelines on how they wanted to account for us to account for the expenditures incurred with these reimbursement monies. So we have to create a fund 266. If you can go up one, there you go. And we have to move and identify the expenditures within the general fund that are going to be identified in Fund 266 as reimbursement through the ESSER grant. So this is just an accounting entry where we reduce the budget both in revenue and expenditures from the general fund and identify them in the proper fund code that TA would like us to record them under in revenues and expenditures. So it's literally just moving expenses from the general fund. In this case, we have $13.8 million allocated to us through the ESSER grant, and we're moving those $13 million into Fund 266. It's just an accounting entry that we're required to do.
You need a budget amendment.
Yes, sir, to move money out of the general fund. Yes, sir.
All right. So a motion regarding the approval of budget amendment as presented. Motion a second, any further discussion?
second,
All right. All those in favor, aye.
aye,
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
None, motion passes. Item 4C, approval of tax roll adjustments for 2019-2020.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Mr. Santos, and members of the audience. For the record, I am Melissa Garza, tax manager, and will be submitting to the board for your approval the United ISD 2019-2020 tax roll adjustments in the rendition penalty.
You go with it?
Questions?
I don't know if anybody has any questions.
You need to read the resolution.
Yes,
No,
sir,
you
that's the
can
next
just say
one.
as presented. Right, okay, all right. We have a motion regarding approval of tax roll adjustments for 2019-2020 as presented.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Motion, a second, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
aye,
Those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Item 4D, resolution to approve the 2020 appraisal roll as the 2020 United ISD tax roll.
I guess I'll also be presenting the resolution to submit the 2020 appraisal roll with the tax amounts entered as the 2020 United ISD tax roll. The resolution reads, whereas Texas Property Tax Code Section 2609E states that the district's tax assessor shall enter the amount of tax determined as provided by the same section in the appraisal roll and submit it to the governing body of the unit for approval. And whereas the appraisal roll with amounts of tax entered as approved by the Board of Trustees of the United Independent School District constitutes the district's tax roll. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the United Independent School District approves the 2020 tax roll levy of $203,682,028.06. Passes and approves this 15th day of September 2020.
All right,
Motion to approve.
motion,
Second.
motion a second, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Thank you very much, man. Item 48, discussion, possible action to recommend to the Board of Trustees approval of CSP 2020-030, demolition of former Salinas Elementary.
Good afternoon, board members of the board. The recommendation is to award this contract to Linebacker Construction in the amount of $782,770, which includes $150,000 contingency allowance. This item was presented to the Bond Oversight Committee meeting, and they approved to bring it to you for your recommendation, for your approval.
Motion to approve.
second,
Motion. The second.
second,
All right, the second, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Item 4F, discussion and possible action to recommend to the Board of Trustees approval of JOC 014-2019 erosion control restoration at Washington Middle School.
Yes, the recommendation from administration is to award this JOC to Quantum Construction in the amount of $628,680, which includes a $70,000 contingency allowance. This too was taken to the Bond Oversight Committee and approved to be brought before the board.
Motion to approve.
The motion,
Second.
motion, a second, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Item 4G, approval for interlocal agreement from between United Independent School District and Education Service Center Region 19 Allied States Cooperative.
Yes, administration would like to recommend approval in this purchasing cooperative. There is no cost to the district to belong, and it just provides an additional procurement source for our campuses, departments, and administrative staff.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Item 4H, approval awarding bids, proposals, and qualifications.
Yes, we have the following recommendations for your consideration. RFP 2020-055 band equipment to the vendors listed. If you go to the summary. Thank you. RFP 2020-057, sheet music and related items through the vendors listed. It's a summary sheet. It's a summary. RFP 2020-052, landscape material and services to Olympia Landscaping and Irrigation. RFP 2020-035, psychological service providers to Clarissa Kuhn, Guillermo Gonzalez, Laura Hernandez, and Neuro Behavioral Services of Laredo. RFP 2020-056, tire to the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, T&W Tire, and Southern Tire Mart. And then we have 13 renewals for your consideration that are listed.
Motion,
Second.
motion a second. Any discussion? Fair aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 4I, approval of sale or disposition of salvage furniture and equipment.
Good afternoon, Mr. Belize, members of the board, Mr. Santos, members of the audience. At this time, we bring before you the request for approval for the sale or disposition of salvage furniture and equipment as listed and by the methods listed.
When is it scheduled, Mr. Costa?
In the past, we would schedule a live auction.
Right.
Because of the current pandemic situation, we are looking at an online auction, possibly with different start and ending dates, depending on the lots. In addition, Mr. Belize, at the request of Mr. Santos, we've been looking into with our current auctioneering company of him setting up a little store for the parents of UISD students, possibly purchasing a chair and a desk combo at a recommended price. And he is willing to work with us in that regard, in addition to the online auction.
Yes, we're looking at selling it for $10, the desk and a chair for our parents.
I know there's been a lot of interest in chairs and desks from the parents of our district. All right, Mr. Cavazos, do we have a motion regarding the approval as presented?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. For J, approval of internal audit plan for 2020-2021.
Good afternoon, Mr. Belize, members of the board, Mr. Santos. I present to you the 2020-2021 internal audit plan for your approval. This plan was prepared based on a risk analysis that includes risk, materiality, prior internal and external audits, changes in services or technology, and the need for an audit presence. We also requested input from administration and the board. This plan is flexible and subject to change to allow our department to respond to special requests and issues that arise during the year.
Listen to approve.
Second.
In a second, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? None, motion passes. Thank you very much, ma'am. Item 4A, approval of additional appraisal for the 2020-2021 school year.
Thank you, Mr. Belize, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Santos. The administration is recommending the addition of an appraiser for Quezon Elementary School by the name of Gilbert Hernandez. By policy, it is required that a person who ascends to such position meet certification requirements as prescribed by the state, but at the same time need final approval by the Board of Trustees in order for this person to execute his duties with regards to appraisal of teachers in the classroom. Move to approve.
The motion,
Second.
motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Thank you, sir. 4L, revisions to 2020-2021 academic calendar.
Good afternoon, board members of the audience. We bring before you a small revision to our calendar. And reflecting as to what teachers have to do with regards to a lot of the training preparations in the classroom. The Reading Academies are coming up.
it was recommended that we look at offering, because there was nothing from the start of the school year when they started on August 14th up until Thanksgiving. And more than anything, we wanted to give them some flexibilities to do some professional development on district time as opposed to after hours, after they conduct their instruction with their students. So we looked back and we reflected, this is not the correct calendar, but August 12th, sorry, I sent you the wrong one. August 12th would stay as a professional development or would be added as a professional development day. We went back and tied it in because it is a federal holiday. And so a lot of our parents, I guess, are already off. And so we would be going on first semester from 87 days to 86 days. And that would be the only change to the calendar.
August, October.
I'm sorry, October.
October 12th.
So that would be a professional development day. It used to be nothing for them at all. So we were going straight to the Thanksgiving break.
I've got one question, not yet a calendar up, and it's got nothing to do with adding this day. I've got a problem with it. When do the students start to come in? September, with the phase 2,
September 21st, sir.
which is
Monday.
Monday. Okay. And that is.
Pre-kinder and special ed student. Unit student.
Not a percentage of.
No, sir.
No.
We did it by grade level.
Yeah, I think so far, from our last report that we got, I think we've got about 3,200 students that, based on what the parents are saying, that they want to come to face-to-face. I don't think we have a final results, but that's probably in the next 4 weeks. The 3,200 is not the first day. And anybody else, even though they didn't submit let's say the parent didn't submit the request for face-to-face, if the student shows up, we're gonna take them. And then we'll work around staffing the schedule.
That particular grade level.
Yeah, that particular grade level. And we're doing it on a 4-week phase-in.
And that begins September 21st.
Yes, sir. Kind of pre-kinder is about 116 students coming into pre-kinder.
Motion to approve.
A motion,
Second.
Second.
any further discussion, all those in favor, aye.
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 All those unopposed, motion passes. Item 4M, second and final reading of policy update 115 affecting local policies.
We have 11 updates, 11 policies or local policies that were included in this update. And they basically include all the Title IX regulations effective August 14th, which specifically defines sexual harassment under Title IX. And it tells us how we have to respond to each case. In addition to that, they're based on legislation from the regular session of the 86 legislation of all the actions that have to be implemented for 2021 school year. So we already reviewed them. And we should be in compliance with all of them.
You have a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, unopposed, motion passes. Thank you, ma'am. Item 4N, approval of board minutes for the month of June 2020.
Motion to approve.
Motion,
Second.
second, any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, unopposed, motion passes. Item 4O, approval of donations.
Yes, Mr. Reddy, members of the board, we have one donation this month. Donation was received by Special Ed Department for 5 face masks for each of our special needs students. Monetary value of $5,730 from South Texas Aging and Disability Resource Center. Again, we want to thank this association for helping our students.
Sure.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, not opposed, motion passes. Item 4P, approval request from board members and reference use of board trustee discretionary funds.
Mr. Bendis, beyond those that are included in the board book, we have 6 more that I'd like to read into the minutes.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
From John Art Elementary, Mr. Molina, Ricardo Molina is giving $3,000 for AR trophies and recognitions for students and their accomplishments. And this was submitted by the principal, Ms. Cepeda. The second one is from John B. Alexander, Principal Ernesto Sandoval, Board Member Rick Rodriguez, for consultants for the Alexander High School band, $6,000. For United South High School, Principal Adriana Ramirez, Three board members are giving $2,500 each, Mr. Bellis, Ricardo Rodriguez, and Juan R. Ramirez, for a John Deere Gator TX model year 2021. I think it's one of those little golf carts. For a total of $7,500. Centeno Elementary, Mr. Bellis will be giving for teacher and staff student incentives of $2,000. For Centeno Elementary, Mr. Ricardo Molina will be giving for faculty, staff, and student incentives for the 2021 school year, $3,000. And for Centeno Elementary, Mr. Rick Rodriguez will be giving for faculty, staff, and student incentives for $2,000. I think the campuses are very gracious for these, requests, for these, dollars.
Yes, ma'am. We have a motion.
Motion. Second.
Any discussion, no discussion, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, none opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, we will respectfully request everyone to remain on board. The board adjourns into closed session for agenda item 5. I'm going to recommend we go into closed session. Time is now 12:47 p.m. This board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to sections 551.071 of the Texas Article Code. Kenny, you go. Agenda item 6, reconvening from closed session. The time is now 1:57 p.m. The board will take appropriate action on items if necessary as discussed in closed session. I believe there's no action needed on item A, B, or C. Is that correct, Mr. Santos?
Yes, sir.
I believe the only action needed is to approve the authority to give the real estate attorney to proceed with the development agreement.
And that will be for letter A?
Yes, correct.
All right, so on item A,
Motion to grant our attorney authority to negotiate as discussed in closed session.
you have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. And item B and item C, no action needed. Item 7, adjournment, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So
All right,
moved.
motion carried. Aye. Everyone will be able to